Well, I'm delighted today to be speaking to long-standing friend and supporter of PCD, Cecile from Trust Consult Group here in Geneva. Welcome, Cecile. Terrific to talk to you today.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you for the invitation.
So, for those people who don't know about you and about Trust Consult, it'd be great to hear a little bit more about the group before we get into our conversation.
Well, the group is today celebrating its 20 years old. It was born 20 years ago in Luxembourg, and we are now present in different jurisdictions. So Luxembourg remaining our head office. We have offices in Switzerland, Belgium, Hong Kong, Dubai, and new baby is Monaco.
Fantastic.
So voila, so we are a fiduciary group and trust company, duly licensed in Switzerland. We cover all the needs of a fiduciary, from incorporating and administrating any sort of structures, helping families, helping entrepreneurs from all over the world with their needs.
And you've got a very global client base that reflects, I suppose, the Swiss industry, which is also very focused on looking after international families.
Yes, we do cover most of the globe, I must say. We have clients from all parts of the world, from Asia to Middle East, Africa, Israel, Europe, LATAM. Not much in the US though, but apart from the US, I think we are pretty much everywhere.
And there's been great change in the industry generally over the last 10, 20 years as to transform the way that private wealth clients, I guess, are advised. How do you see it impacting Switzerland?
I see Switzerland coming more and more into a robust and strong competitor, if I could say it that way, to the usual suspects, such as, the Channel Island, for instance, or Singapore, or BVI, or the big names. But Switzerland was famous and known for his banking industry. Now it's not only famous and known for the banking industry, but it's also very much appreciated and recognized as a very strong jurisdiction for estate planning, wealth planning, and people have realized that the life in Switzerland is pretty good as well. So clients love it. People who come to work in Switzerland love it. So yes, I think it's a nice jurisdiction.
So the fact that you've got such strong banking sector, the investment expertise, as well as the legal, the fiduciary, all under one jurisdiction, the proximity of that creates, as well as the fact, as you say, clients like coming here if they need to visit, it's convenient and pleasant. Is that all part of the proposition?
It is.
Yeah.
It is part of the proposition. Though it's funny because clients come from very far away to meet advisors and professionals in Switzerland, and more, I would say. It's funny when you travel to Africa, Asia, or the Middle East, and you give your business card, and you can see that as soon as they realize that you come from Switzerland, something happened. It's like, oh, Switzerland, so lucky. Have you been? No, but we heard about this. It's a lovely place, isn't it? So
the aspiration is there, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's a global brand.
Exactly. The image is intact, and it's very well perceived for.
And you've come out on the road with us to do PCD in Dubai last November, and your experienced traveller going to see clients in the Middle East. I mean, there's very strong links between Geneva and the key families of the Middle East. How do you see that?
I see the relationship between the Gulf region, generally speaking, and Switzerland as strong as the one with the UK, for instance. Very often, not during COVID, but we hope this year will be different. Very often, a lot of the family who lives in Dubai or Oman or Saudi, they come to visit during summer. From June to September, we have a lot of visitors. I must say that they know a lot of the professional in Switzerland, and so it's quite handy.
You do
for
see
us.
it by the lakeside, don't you? If you come in the summer months, you see the influence there.
All the hotel are very familiar with this type of clients, but they also own a few properties around. In France, for instance, a lot of properties are owned by people from the Gulf. So.
And there's strong links for the UK as well with those clients, because they've often have investments there that can be structured or managed here. So there's a nice partnership there, isn't there?
Absolutely, and very often we see them. They come to Switzerland. They meet all the professionals they need to. They go to the UK. The ladies, they shop in Paris. This is a routine. Every year is the same. It's funny.
And what about further east? I know that you do business out of Hong Kong and are experienced around Asia. What is it that you see there?
We see a lot of question. We see a lot of interest, and we see a lot of potential. Unfortunately, it's been very difficult, and we could not travel to Far East. Which was the other way around with the Gulf, where we could travel from Switzerland, and we have traveled on a regular basis during the COVID, but in Asia it was not possible. That said, because we are all master in Zoom and Teams, it didn't stop us from doing business, and we have done a lot of business with our Hong Kong team.
Because there's interesting flows from Asian investors coming into Europe, and Luxembourg and Switzerland are an integral part of that mix.
Absolutely.
I mean, have you
both
seen that?
ways, I would say, and two types of clients. We have the entrepreneur, yes, investors, but we also have families. We have wealthy families that have always been interested in having their advisors either in the UK or in Europe, generally speaking, and it's still the case. And that said, we are still using Hong Kong as a jurisdiction because Hong Kong is a very, very key jurisdiction for a lot of people who are investing in Asia. The number of treaties that are in place, etc., and it is working. For how long we don't know, but it is still working.
And because the wealth creation in China that creates succession needs, don't they? The families, the business families of China have children educated in the US, UK, and elsewhere. They are cross-border, so they need professionals to work alongside.
But I don't know if you remember 3 years ago when we met in Hong Kong. I was just back from China, and in China, all the lawyers that I met and the private bankers were all saying the same story. You need to come more often. You need to teach us, because over there as well, it's very early days for estate planning, private banking, etc. There's a lot of needs.
So education of the clients and the advisors around the use of trust, and running structures properly. Is needed,
yeah, it is needed, definitely. But it is needed everywhere. And you know what? When you come across a crisis like we did, we are accumulating crises, but when you come across crisis, people have a little bit more time to think. During COVID, they definitely had more time to think, and therefore they look, at their situation, they think it over, and then they call you back and say, "Do you remember what you mentioned? Well, now it's time to talk, because," and for various reasons, some people are aging. So they think it's time to do something.
Aware of mortality,
Some people are scared because, think of Ukraine, for instance, today with Russia. In LATAM, it's more political. So it all depends, but there is always something that pushes those families to, act and do something.
And have you seen a sort of restructuring of existing structures or change of trustee providers as people have reflected? It's caused them actually to look at maybe over-complex structure charts and say, couldn't we do this better?
We have seen two trends. One, exactly the one you said. People want something simple, and families that we are meeting today are much more aware of what estate planning means than it was the case 10 years ago or 15 years ago. That's one. And we do appreciate to have people who know a little bit, at least, about what we do and how we can help them, etc., because it's easier. you know. Most of them know what a trust is, or a foundation, or estate planning in generally speaking. So it's interesting to have this discussion. The second factors was during the Pandora paper, because the Pandora paper suddenly people again got scared, you know, and we have seen a lot of structure either being completely wind up, or change providers, or change jurisdiction. So yes, but you know, we see that all the time. You see that all the time. Okay. Though it's more and more complicated, because compliance is getting more and more robust and strong. So when you want to move one client to another provider or to another jurisdiction, you have to do compliance again, you know, and it's getting more and more difficult.
I mean, a lot is said and been written about as well next-gen clients, or clients inheriting wealth, having different behaviours and interests than the parents' generation. Is that something you see, or do you think it really can't be characterised in the way it's often written up, i.e. interested in sustainability and ESG and interested in certain things?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do see that. But I think sustainability and green and is already past. Today is metaverse. You know, today it's cryptocurrency. We see young people trying to teach parents and grandparents to invest in cryptocurrency, in metaverse, and There is definitely a clash, you know, between the parents and the next gen. It's obvious. It has never been so obvious, but this time now is very, very clear.
And I guess in Switzerland, because of Crypto Valley and the innovation that's there, that there's a lot of activities, a lot of wealth creation. So inevitably, these investments and projects either create a new client or create an opportunity for an existing client to think, I want to be invested.
Absolutely, absolutely. And some people are very good.
Yeah.
And they are being recognized, and we can see that at the beginning there were not that many people who knew exactly what crypto was, etc. But Switzerland did well by you know, pushing a few of these professionals to go their way, and today we can see that in Zug, for instance, you have the Crypto Valley, and we have some people who are doing very good, very, very good.
You were at the Step Alpine conference that was held very recently. Spoke to a lot of people that said the attendance was great, interesting debate going on. I mean, what was your read on the conference?
Yeah, it was the 5th conference. Remember that I was chairman of the federation when we decided to have this conference in the mountain at the beginning. It was
a new idea, wasn't it?
It was a new idea, but it was difficult to convince my other partners, you know, that we had to do something different in a, you know, neutral ground, because Step has had at the time 7 chapters in Switzerland, so we had to find, you know, a happy medium for everyone, and it was this year extremely successful. I think 300 guests attended. Strong
a lot of international travellers.
Yeah,
I saw people coming in from London, which is great.
From everywhere.
Yeah.
We had people from everywhere, and topics were interesting because there are so many things are happening in Switzerland. You know, we covered the situation today with the license of trustee and asset manager, which is very painful for a lot of the players. We realized that only 4 trust companies as of April had their license. When you think that there are over 300 companies all over Switzerland, only 4
and a deadline approaching.
Voilà.
Yeah.
So that's a bit scary. It's a similar situation with the asset manager, but there are many more, but it's a very similar situation. So question mark. What are they waiting for? Is there so many fusion negotiation? We don't know, but so voilà. And Professor Thévenot told us as well the situation where we stand with the project of having a trust law in Switzerland, which is, you know, slowly by slowly being accepted and negotiated and amended. So we will see if it's happening and how, because there are some pro and cons, obviously. the taxation of such vehicle in Switzerland is a big issue, so it's still under negotiation and discussion.
And finally, Cecile, I mean, you're a global traveller. Whenever I talk to you, you've got another trip in the pipeline, particularly now as things starting to open up. What have you got on the agenda over the next 6 months? Any interesting travels?
Recently, I was in Nigeria,
Yeah.
as you know, so it was very interesting. Dubai is always on the map. I cannot wait for Asia to really reopen, and I should be in Singapore very soon.
Are you enjoying seeing people back in person? I mean, that's
yes.
everyone seems to be.
We are, and they do appreciate you visiting as well. It's a fact. And honestly, if you don't do it in our business, you don't bring new business. It's as simple as that. And you know, when you take care of private clients, some family, they are much more comfortable, and rightly so, I must say, when they meet you. You cannot talk, it's difficult to talk about privacy on a Zoom or over the telephone. You know, they don't feel comfortable. Fair enough, I mean. And you know, you achieve many more things when you meet them. So yeah, thank God.
Well, Cecile, lovely to talk to you as always. Really looking forward to sharing this with our members and seeing you tonight at the dinner.
Of course, yes. The party of the boss. Thank you.